Welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. This is the second video of a 5-part series of talking about graduation, self-discovery. I haven't really hit the perfect words to it, but I don't think there are really any perfect words to describe this series. However, I think the core of it is transitions in life and you locking in with those transitions that have happened throughout your life and what they mean to you and how they've created you. Looking back to discover who you are now and who you want to be going forward. So this particular video, I'll go into some examples of what I went through when I left high school. And there's a lot going on there. There's the leading up to graduation and then there is after graduation. But we're gonna talk about you in high school leading up to graduation, and maybe you didn't graduate high school, that is A-okay. The idea is, at what point in your life were your friends no longer assumed proximity, a built-in proximity? This is a thing, we have a community when we're going to a school or we're going to a daily thing that's set up or scheduled for us. We have this locked in thing that's going on, that we're going to the thing, the people will be there, that's what it is, summer camp, whatever it may be. And once that goes away, you really have to make some decisions to figure out who you are without those people. And just in general, the trick is you've always been figuring out who you are, and it's just been in different temperatures, climates, rooms, and crowds. But it's figuring out who you are once all of that proximity is gone. But then also, here's the special thing, once there are no longer decisions being made for you. And this is something that a lot of people run into after high school graduation. They find that they have a ton of autonomy and agency and accountability. Everything in your life, it's on you, dog. That's you. That's you. Again, I go back to the woman who said, your bank account is a reflection of how much you value yourself. Oh my goodness, I could have lost it when she said that. And that really is what it is. Your life is a reflection of what you believe you should be having right now. And once we get out of school or we get out of this locked in schedule where we have all these things set up for us and our lunch is prepared for us or not, we have this autonomy that we have to deal with. We have to answer it. And I love the way that this one YouTube creator stated it. He said, life is calling. Life is begging. Life is asking you, what do you want this to be? And I just was like, whoa, what? And when you really think about that, you have so much more power than you'll ever know. You're at the wheel. You are flying this plane. This is yours. This is all yours. And once you start to lock in with that, things really, really begin to shift. They really begin to shift. And my experience was very different. There was some health issues going on, and I'll make a video about that because I want to be able to support and help you as best I can from my lived experience and the little things that I know. If there's anything in my story that can help you, that's all I wish for with this channel, really, to be honest. And so the first thing, we'll go through 3 things. There's always 3 things in each video here, right? 1 is you make the event. 2 is who are you? And 3, no decisions are being made for you anymore. So the first part is this idea that, graduation, well, we throw the hat in the air and, we're all excited. But it's just a human-made event. It's not real. I mean, it's a pageant. It's like a pageantry, and it's a spectacle. It has decoration to it, emotion to it. Oh, so much emotion. And it is the end of the line. After that, who are you? You have to figure out your identity outside of this situation. And that is extremely tough for a lot of people because not a lot of people know who they are outside of school. Not a lot of people know who they are outside of their job. I remember my father, just to give you a quick background, He has been a community organizer his whole life. Never been a day he hasn't been community organizing. Up until I think when his mid-teens, he began community organizing. He retired from his job and some of his old work buddies, and once he retired from his job, guess what he started doing? Got back into community organizing. And one of his old coworkers tapped him on the shoulder and said, "Hey man, don't you just miss the old days back at the job?" And my dad was like, "What? No, I don't." Because my dad doesn't identify with the job. Now, you understanding this is really important. Have you enmeshed your identity with school? Have you enmeshed your identity with your group of friends? Have you enmeshed your identity with something outside of you other than yourself? And again, not good or bad, whatever. This is just something for you to know and to start to lock in with. So you are in charge of what this event means. Even though you're throwing the hat in the air and you've graduated and you're saying goodbye to teachers and you get recommendations to different places, maybe you're going to college, maybe you're not. My goodness, expensive. The idea is that you make the event. My therapist, my counselor in high school, she told me this prophetic thing. She said, and I was a sophomore at the time when she said this. She said, "You know what? This happens to a lot of people, Toussaint, like at graduation. It's basically like ready, set, nothing." And I was like, whatever, man. It's going to be dope for me. And then what ended up happening? Ready, set, nothing. That was it. And it was just like, oh wow. I guess, what do I do now? What do I do? Do I empty out my locker? Where do I go? I have to pay taxes now. So, like, that is up to you. You make the event. You are in charge of what the event is going to be. Like, you give meaning to the moment. And what is that moment going to be for you? What do you want for yourself? So first, understand that you have autonomy and agency and you get to create it. Secondly, taps right into it. Who are you? We will forever be tapping into this question throughout this channel. So just get used to it. Who are you? You get to actually identify who you want to be, because what you thought before during school, it mattered, but now it matters even more because you're on your own. So what you believe, what you think, what actions you take, what things you put into your body. I mean, these are all incredibly important, paramount things now, because it's not to say that there's no support system there, but there is no daily routine of school or an entire building to back you on it. It's just not there anymore. Nobody's looking after you or looking over your shoulder. So who are you without all these things? Who are you just in general? And you can construct an identity within these confines, but you can't really access it until you're by yourself, until you're alone. Loneliness is not the same as being alone. And when you begin to construct your identity, that is when that's when the work starts. That's when people really begin to take action or massive action. Taking action is the tip of the iceberg. When you receive a letter in the mail, that's the tip of the iceberg. Somebody wrote it, typed it out, whatever, printed it. Somebody gave it to a post office. Somebody took it from there, brought it over to you, and by the time it gets to you, the source has already committed to the action. So it's there. So when you take action, that is the byproduct of the commitment that you've made from within yourself that, hey, I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to be this person. Be, do, have. So we also got to get into that as well. So whoever you are being, it will then link up to what you're doing, will then link up to what you're going to have for yourself down the road. And this is a very important time in your life because you get to say who you are. You get to declare it. You get to be vigilant in who you are. And you could do that before, obviously, right? Now, you get to fill your day however you want to fill it. You get to fill your schedule however you want to fill it. You get to choose your friends. You get to choose who's around you. That's really how this works, which is really beautiful because you can construct it. It can also be exhausting. As a highly sensitive person, like for me, I wasn't necessarily ready for all of that. And the idea was, oh, there's going to be more school after this. And I was like, yeah, cool, great. No, thank you. I crumbled under a lot of pressure at the end of high school. just simply due to the fact that I don't think I was fortified enough as an individual to really be like, yeah, I think I'm good with all this. Let's see where this goes. I was like, dog, I need to sleep. That was the reality. I was like, and you'll have these dreams afterwards where you're like, you think you're late for the bus, but there's no bus. School's over. It's done. And then in college, I would have dreams where I'd wake up and I think that my car was getting towed, but that was a whole different thing. We'll get into that in the next video. Because the campus I went to was there was no room for cars. If you have a car, why are you here? So you get to decide who you are and who you want to be. And that, I'll put this as simply as I can. It can feel like torture sometimes. It can feel absolutely painful because depending on your childhood and how you were brought up, a lot of people have been given this framework and blueprint that never allowed them to go outside of the box or go outside of the framework to discover who they are. And so it goes back to that line that Mike Tyson said, everybody has a great plan until they get punched in the face. And I will tell you what, dog, 2020 here in Minneapolis, like everybody had an idea of what they thought the world was until 2020 in Minneapolis, and you can look that up. And people really found out who they were. When you are in a dire straits situation, you find out who people are. Some people are gonna want to escape. Some people are gonna want to yell. Some people are gonna get real focused. Don't get angry, get focused. Some people are gonna get really enraged. Some people are gonna get very, very supportive. Some people are gonna pull the rug out from underneath you just so they can keep themselves warm. I mean, like, you will figure it out. If you lock 10 people in the basement during a zombie apocalypse, you will absolutely find out who these people are and who you are as well. And it's not to say that it's to that degree, of like terror or anything like that, but it feels like that. It can feel like that. And I don't want to minimize anybody's feelings on that. I remember we talked about this in group therapy. Somebody said, we were getting a conversation going, and they said, anybody who wants to start, go ahead. It could be the loss of a family member or the fact that you got an A- on a paper. And it's not to minimize the loss of a family member, it's to acknowledge that some people within their framework, depending on the happening, it is the same magnitude of pain. And we, as humans, we all feel it. We all have that ability to feel deeply. We absolutely do. And when you're figuring out who you are, there may be some pain in that. There's a hell of a lot of joy too. And then lastly, no decisions are being made for you anymore. And that goes into the other thing I have written down here. What do you want? And then there's another thing here as well. Anyways, but no decisions are being made for you anymore. You're making the decisions. You're in charge of everything. The table, the window, the door, it's all you. You get to say what goes where. And that's the cool thing about right now. It's also the scary thing, terrifying for some people. But find out, be in that space, really lean into it, because who you are is on the other side of unknown. That's the last thing I had written down here. What is on the other side of unknown, what is on the other side of the darkness is who you are. And you have to go through that to figure out who you are. We have to go to some spaces that we are not familiar with, that we are entirely lost. We have to go to some spaces where we are 1000% unsure. Things are in question. You have to do that at some point. And when we talk about 2020, which we'll get to later on, everybody was in question. Nobody had a clue of what was going to happen. Like really no idea whatsoever. But if you locked in with it, we said this in the last video, if you lean into it, if you don't shy away from the moment, if you can, I'm not talking about like, go into it like, Lord of the Rings, I'm saying if you can just sit with it, I guarantee you will grow as a human. You absolutely will, because there's no other choice. If you if you immerse yourself into that environment, your body, your cells, they have no choice but to regulate with it. Just be with it and they will grow and acclimate to that moment. And once you start doing that over and over and over again, you really won't have a whole lot of fear going into it. You might have some nerves. I definitely, every swim meet that I went to, I was absolutely nervous out of my mind. In the beginning, I was afraid. I was like, man, I just want to get out of here. Let's just leave the natatorium, dog. Let's get out. But as time went on, began to really lock in with, oh, this is, I've been here before, done this. So once you start getting acclimated to an environment where not all the decisions are being made for you anymore, you'll start to acclimate. You'll start to get with it. You'll start getting in pace with it, getting in rhythm with it. Start to dance with it a little bit. Who knows? Little two-step, never hurt nobody. But those are several things that you may experience or you can put into use for you while in this state of transition. It's this huge state of transition. And this could be with you dropping out of school as well. That's the other part. I wanted to leave some space for that, because I have a lot of friends that did drop out and never went back. They said, after this, I'm not doing this. They ended up getting their degrees like through us some other way or whatever. But it's just whenever you leave that space, that's a transition, and acknowledge it and understand that as a human, you will only grow in that space by acknowledging it and kind of regulating with it, like being with it and accepting it. It's like be in that reality where it's like, okay, the safety net's gone, and who you are, your identity, is on the other side of unknown. So I wish you the best of luck. I really do. Hey, we'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much for tuning in.